YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back. And for this video, I'm going back to the 2015 NFL Draft and giving you my best player from each round of that draft. We did the same video for 2017 and the 2016 NFL Draft. We're on the 2015, and we're going to keep going down. 2014 will be next, so pretty interesting stuff. I'm also going to give you players I strongly considered for the best player of that round, and at the end of these videos I kind of go back and look at the entire draft real quick, and anything that stands out we kind of talk about here. So the first round of this draft, I went with Todd Gurley. I think pretty obvious choice. A good running back, good two running backs here, I guess, that were the options. Todd Gurley was the obvious one, and Melvin Gordon, which would be the next one. 10th overall pick Gurley was to the Rams. So very good pick there, obviously. And, definitely the best player right now, and I think he has been the best running back in the NFL, actually. But going forward, it's going to be interesting because the whole knee situation, will he continue to be that good? So something to monitor, I guess. And then now things get a little more interesting here. Round 2, I went with Frank Clark, who is now on the Kansas City Chiefs, but the Seahawks did draft him. 63 overall there, so great pick. Obviously, been one of the better 4-3 defensive ends. People were confused about that pick at the time. People didn't think he was a second-round pick, maybe more of a third or fourth-round guy. So 63rd overall. And this was somewhat tough. Again, we'll name more guys once we get to the end of the video, but some other guys, Eric Kendricks, middle linebacker for the Vikings, and Landon Collins, who was drafted by the Giants, now the safety of the Redskins. So those were some guys that other people may consider. I like Frank Clark for that best player in round 2 of 2015, though. So there's a defensive end. We have a lot of pretty good 4-3 defensive ends on this list showing up. And next we'll show another one of those 4-3 ends. Danielle Hunter in the 3rd round of the Minnesota Vikings, 88th overall. And this is a tough one. Some people may disagree with me. Some people may go David Johnson. But I think people know kind of my stance on David Johnson if you're familiar with any of our videos, and when I've kind of touched on my thoughts on him. I think he's a very good running back, and I think he's shown what he's capable of. I just haven't really seen enough. We've seen one really good year. We've seen some injuries. So I want to see more from him. So you could argue David Johnson, Tyler Lockett would be probably the 3rd option. But Danielle Hunter, heck of a pick for the Vikings, was kind of a project guy, was already really good at stopping the run, but I believe, if I remember, he had 2.5 sacks his whole career at LSU, and now he's a sack machine at his young age. So very good pick there, 88th overall. On to the 4th round. So we just had Frank Clark, and we just had Danielle Hunter, 2 4-3 defensive ends. And then in the 4th round, we have another one, Trey Flowers, 101 overall to the Patriots, obviously now with the Detroit Lions. So we've already seen 2 guys in both 4-3 ends that are on different teams. Frank Clark to the Chiefs, Trey Flowers to the Lions, and drafted by the Patriots, though, 101 overall. So this was a tough one in round 4. Really good round 4. Trey Flowers was my choice. I mean, it was tough, but I guess I didn't really think too much about it. Quan Alexander, another guy that switched teams, been very good inside linebacker for the Bucs. Now on the Niners, Shaq Mason, who was actually another Patriots player and draft pick, very good guard for them. So the Patriots did very well in this round. And then Zadarius Smith, who was the pass rusher for the Ravens, who has had a pretty good career so far now on the Green Bay Packers. So pretty good round 4 there. So interesting that 3 rounds in a row, the best player, in my opinion, obviously maybe anyone else's opinion might be different, but 3 rounds in a row are 3 4-3 defensive ends, 3 pass rushers, and specifically 4-3 pass rushers. Interesting stuff there. And then round 5, we have a team showing up for the 2nd time in this list. It's going to be Stefon Diggs of the Vikings. So the Vikings get Danielle Hunter in round 3 and Stefon Diggs in round 5. So it's a pretty good draft for them. Stefon Diggs is, with those top 2 receivers in round 1, Amari Cooper and Kevin White. Amari Cooper definitely very solid, but then getting Diggs in the 5th round is still pretty crazy to this day. 146th overall. And, I'm going back. I remember watching him in Maryland early in his career, and he was really good. Freshman year, he looked like he was going to be a 1st-round pick, maybe a 2nd round at the latest. Some injuries came up, and I think that kind of pushed him down. So if you're kind of going back now, people could kind of go, oh, okay, it kind of makes sense. Maybe didn't think he was, even going back and looking earlier as Maryland, maybe we didn't think he's going to be this good, but Maybe it makes a little more sense now. Another really good player from round 5 was Grady Jarrett too, but I think Stefon Diggs was the obvious choice. So the Vikings have shown up twice on this list. I was kind of waiting for the first team in these videos to show up twice, and the Vikings and another team will show up again in this video. But another very interesting thing, we saw 3 defensive ends show up in a row. We actually get 2 guys in a row with the last name Diggs. Weird. What are the chances of that? Quandre Diggs to the Lions. I mean, not the best round in round 6. This was really the obvious choice for me. You know, he's been getting some good playing time for the Lions. He can play either defensive back spot, so he is the best player from round 6, 200 overall. 2 unrelated Diggs in a row. Interesting stuff. And then round 7, nothing crazy in round 7 as expected, but there was really 3 players that I guess it was kind of tough to choose between. And I went with, so this is a team showing up for the second time on this list, but doesn't really count. I'm not sure. Darryl Roberts, the Patriots technically drafted him, and when I saw that, I couldn't really remember that him being on the Patriots, and he doesn't actually have a stat line on the Patriots. So the Jets is where he's played his ball, even though he was drafted 247 on the Patriots. And he had a really good year at corner for the Jets last year. You know, he broke up a lot of passes, I noticed. Kind of stood out at times for me. So he was pretty solid last year. Darryl Roberts, 247 overall of the Patriots. 2 other guys I considered, Bobby Hart, who is an offensive lineman for the Bengals, just got an extension. And Trevor Siemian, I know people may laugh at that one, but I mean, as a 7th round pick, he started at quarterback, and he's, you know, a decent backup at least. So that could be an option as well. So there's the 7 best players from each round, 1 from each round of this draft we're going to go through. And let's take a look at this draft. This is an interesting part of these videos. And to remember that 2 quarterbacks at 1 and 2, Jameis Winston and Mariota, 2 kind of question marks, I guess, right now. We know they're both capable of playing very well, but still need to show us some more. Dante Fowler, 3. So far, I mean, I guess the top 2 were the obvious choices, but so far not the best draft. Amari Cooper, 4. Obviously, he's turning out, but not for the Raiders. Brandon Scherff, if healthy, is a very solid guard. Let's say tackle there. Leonard Williams has been pretty solid. Kevin White was definitely unfortunate. Vic Beasley, very solid for the Falcons, led in sacks a couple years ago. Eric Flowers, I hated the pick at the time, and obviously everybody hates it still. Todd Gurley, 10. Trey Waynes, you know, early on in his career kind of looked like a bust, but he's actually turning out very solid. Danny Shelton now on the Patriots, and there's more Browns picks that didn't work out. Andrews Pete looked real good early in his career. Last year struggled a little bit, still confident in him. Devontae Parker is a little disappointing. Melvin Gordon, very solid pick. Kevin Johnson, a little disappointing. Armstead hasn't shown us too much, but not a terrible pick. Marcus Peters was a very solid pick. I remember he was my number 1 corner from this class, and it was pretty clear, and he was the 3rd one off the board. I know no longer with the Chiefs, but still a very, very solid pick. You can put him right there for possibly 3rd place after Todd Gurley and Melvin Gordon there. Irving, another unfortunate Browns pick there. Nelson Aguilar has been a solid receiver. Was he worthy of the 20th pick? Ogbuye, you know, it hasn't really worked out too well for the Bengals there. It's Bud Dupree. He's, you know, I think an underrated player. You know, at first it kind of looked like he was going to be a bust. I think he's starting to pick it up now. He's on his contract year, it happens to be, so we'll see. Shane Ray's been a little disappointing. New start, fresh start with the Ravens. DJ Humphries, Shaq Thompson. Yes, yeah, Brashard Perriman was definitely on for. Byron Jones, probably the 4th best pick from this group, or player from this group. Laken Thompson, Philip Dorsett's unfortunate. Demarius Randall playing pretty good with the Browns. Stephon Anthony, you know, maybe, you know, a little disappointing there. Malcolm Brown, who actually will be with the Saints now. So, you know, some hits, some misses there in the first, as expected, I guess. Looking at the second round, kind of going to run through these a little faster if this will load. Landon Collins, we talked about him a little bit. You know, if you know my thoughts on Landon, I'm not super high on Landon Collins like everyone else, but still a good player. Donovan Smith, I like that pick a lot, and he's really inconsistent for the Bucs. You know, 1 second looks like a really good offensive lineman, then has a bad game, so we'll see what he can do. Mario Edwards, T.J. Yeldon, I think stands out here. Devin Smith, unfortunately, did not work out. Preston Smith, now at the Packers, been pretty solid. Goldman just got a good contract last year for the Bears. Titans, rough one there. Devin Funchess. Benardrick McKinney. That's a pretty good second-round pick right there. We talked about Frank Clark winning this best player. We talked about Eric Kendricks and Landon Collins, and definitely McKinney belongs in that group. And then a couple misses down here. There's Frank Clark. Ali Marpet. So the Bucks got 2 of their starting offensive linemen right here. You know, I don't know what to make of that. You know, they're 2 starting offensive linemen. The offensive line has struggled. 2, I guess, inconsistent guys, but shown flashes of what they're capable of. Marpet being a little better. So not bad, really, I think. Randy Gregory would have been a heck of a player if he was smart. Perriman's been solid. Eric Rowe looked real good early in his career. Haven't seen too much of him recently. We talk about Eric Kendricks. There's some disappointing players here. Yeah, Golson, I liked his game at Ole Miss a lot. Just undersized and just kept getting hurt, and that kind of continued on in the pro career. So pretty unfortunate because he was a heck of a cornerback in college. And then round 3, we had the winner of round 3, Danielle Hunter, with a close David Johnson. I talked about Tyler Lockett. I don't know if there's much from Duke Johnson. Pretty solid. P.J. Williams played pretty well for the Saints last year, so I thought Eli Harold would be a little better. We talked about Lockett. Jalen Strong, and I thought he would turn out a little better. Ty Montgomery had his years. Jordan Hicks, that's another solid one. We talked about, what is this, 3rd round? We talked about Danielle Hunter, David Johnson, Tyler Lockett. Jordan Hicks probably be next in that group. Tyler Croft. Oh, Tevin Coleman, right there with the group too. Right there with the group. Ends up being a pretty good 3rd round then, after all. Talked about David Johnson. And there's Hunter down at 88. Round 4, I had Trey Flowers, and I mentioned Quan Alexander, Shaq Mason, and Zadarius Smith. And the Titans continue to have a rough draft there. Something that stands out. Trey Flowers, was the best player for me. Darrell Williams is a very good pick. So it's a pretty darn good round 4 there. Add him to the group of guys there. Anybody else? Talked about Shaq. Jamison Crowder, solid pick there. And looks Clayton Gathers starting at safety for the Colts. Are still looking for possible replacement because they know they can get better there, but he's been okay. And then Buck Allen was 125 overall. And then round 5, Stephon Diggs was the best player from round 5 in my opinion. Grady Jarrett was 2nd, and Grady Jarrett was the 1st pick in this round. Anybody else that stands out here? Carlos Williams was good off the field issues. Adrian Amos, that's another very good pick right there. With the Bears, now with the Packers. But Carlos Williams, unfortunate because he was a really good running back. I liked him a lot, liked his game a lot. Stephon Diggs was 146, like we talked about. Brett Hundley is a very solid backup there. And Jay Ajayi, not too many really good years, but he had a couple really good years. So maybe he needs to be more consistent and stays healthy. But he's had some good years. Round 6, talked about Quandre Diggs was really the only option for me here. I think there was a couple other. Darius Philon would probably be next. Any other guys that stand out here? Not really any that can compete there for the top player from this round. Unless I'm missing somebody here. Nick O'Leary. Round 7. I had Darryl Roberts, and I said a close 2nd and 3rd with Bobby Hart and Trevor Siemian. Is there any more? Not too many other ones that really stand out. It's just funny because I just forgot that the Patriots actually drafted Darryl Roberts. That's why these videos are interesting. Kind of just start remembering stuff when doing these. So, and then Bobby Hart, of course, was drafted by the Giants, but now was just re-signed by the Bengals after last year. And that looks like it through 7 rounds. So that'll do it for the 2015 draft. We're going to 2014 next. We're going to keep going on. I'm not sure how many drafts I'll do for this. Kind of going to see your guys' thoughts on here. I think it's pretty cool doing these. Pretty fun. Kind of going back and remembering these things. So let me know your guys' thoughts. We got plenty of NFL predictions for the upcoming season on the channel. Plenty more to come. And then we have full coverage in season. So if you don't subscribe to the channel, it would be much appreciated if you do so. Daily videos here at the Goat House. Thanks everyone for their support. It's been great. Thanks for watching these videos. That's going to do it for this one. Goodbye.